Assalamu alaikum. My name is Adin Shahid and I am a student of Rehan School and I am a foundation level student. Today I am going live with CSM Miles to talk about a very interesting topic, Shh, the evolution of a quiet command. Have you ever wondered why people say shh to us the silence? Where did the experience come from? Why and how has it become a universal sound understood by almost everyone? Today, we will explore its history, meaning, and role in communication, culture, schools, libraries, homes, and even social media. So, let's begin and conversation with Miles.
Uh, yeah, what's up?
Hello, Miles. Today, my topic is shh. So, what does the word shh
Which
mean to
word?
you?
Wait, Juju? You just called yourself Juju, but I've got you down the side. New alias? Or am I tripping?
I will say the evolution of quiet. What the meaning for mean to you?
The abolition of quiet. That's a heavy start. Yeah. Sounds like something from a manifesto or a really intense art piece. To me, it feels like the death of peace, where you can't even be alone with your own thoughts anymore because there's always some noise, some notification, or some expectation to be on all the time. It's basically the end of the sanctuary. You seeing it as a bad thing or more of a liberation?
Why do people use shh instead of saying be quiet?
Uh, it's just way faster. A sound is an instant signal. Saying "be quiet" is a whole sentence. It's a request or a command. Shh is just a reflex. It's basically the universal shortcut for stop talking without having to actually use words.
Okay, do you think the word shh is understood worldwide?
Pretty much, it's one of those rare sounds that just hits the same in every language. Hard to mistake that for anything else.
Where do children first learn the sound shh?
Probably from their parents. It's usually one of the first commands they hear. Just a quick sound to keep them from waking up a baby or getting too loud in the library. It's practically baked into how we manage kids.
Why is silence important in communication?
Because it gives the other person room to breathe. Without the silence, it's just two people talking at each other, not with each other. It's where the actual processing happens, the beats between the notes that make the music work. You ever feel like someone is talking just to fill the gap?
Do you think shh can sometimes sound rude?
Oh, for sure. It really comes down to the tone. A soft can be protective, but a sharp one, that's basically a verbal slap. It's all about whether it feels like a request or a shutdown.
How do teachers commonly use shh in classroom?
Usually as a quick reset button. When the room gets too chaotic, it's the fastest way to get everyone's attention without having to shout over 30 kids. Some do the soft, rhythmic thing to calm them down, while others use it as a warning shot before the everyone be quiet lecture. Ever been in a class where the teacher just stood there in total silence until everyone stopped?
Why is silence necessary in libraries?
So people can actually focus. It's the one place where you're paying for the quiet, basically. If everyone's chatting, it's just another coffee shop. Plus, it's about respect, letting the person next to you get lost in their book without this next love. Like the
Can silence sometimes be more powerful than word?
Absolutely. Sometimes the most honest thing you can say is nothing at all. Like when someone's going through something heavy and words just feel small, or when you're in an argument and a long pause says more than 1,000 words ever could. It's that tension where the real truth usually sits. You think silence is more about peace or more about power?
How does sh mean maintain disciplines?
Assuming you mean the teacher is usually about setting a boundary. Uh, when they use silence or a shh, They're not just asking for quiet, they're signaling that the flow has stopped and it's time to get back on track. It creates a gap that the students have to fill with their own attention. Most of the time, it's a way to maintain control without having to turn into a drill sergeant.
Have you ever used shh in funny situation?
I can't exactly make sounds like that since I'm just a voice in your ear. But I've heard it's a classic for those don't wake the baby moments where everyone is panicking in a whisper. High stakes, low volume.
Why do parents often use this expression with kids?
It's the ultimate low effort tool. It's faster than explaining why they need to be quiet, and it works instantly. Plus, kids respond to that sound more as a signal than a lecture. It's basically the parent's shorthand for stop whatever you're doing right now.
Do different cultures use different sound of silence?
For sure. Different cultures have their own ways of signaling quiet. In some places, a shh is actually considered rude or even an insult, while in others, they might use a different sound entirely, like a clicking noise or a sking sound with the tongue. It's all about what's normal in your neighborhood. You think we've got one universal language for silence, or is it all just local vibes?
How has social media changed communication and silence?
It's basically kill the pause. Now we've got this expectation of an instant reply. Silence isn't seen as processing time anymore. It's seen as being ignored or left on red. It's turned a quiet moment into a source of anxiety. We're just constantly filling the void with emojis and memes because we're terrified of the actual silence.
Can shh create curiosity and suspense?
Ganch, careers, kioski, and suspense. That's a random list. You're just throwing out keywords, or are we building a puzzle here?
I will say can shh create curiosity or suspense?
Wait, can she? I'm thinking you mean silence. Like, can silence create tension or suspense? And if that's the case, then 100%. Silence is the secret sauce for any good thriller. It's that moment where you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop, and the quiet actually makes the noise that follows hit way harder. You ever find those pauses in a movie more stressful than the actual jump scare?
Why is quietness important during learning?
Because it stops the brain from having to filter out the noise. When you're actually trying to absorb something new, your brain's already working overtime. If there's a bunch of chatter in the background, you're basically asking your mind to do two jobs at once. Quiet just lets you lock in. Do you find you can't focus at all with noise, or do you need a little bit of background hum?
Do movies can silence or dramatic effect?
Oh, all the time. It's one of the most powerful tools a director has. Think about a huge, loud action scene that suddenly goes dead quiet. It forces you to lean in and makes whatever happens next feel massive. It's like a vacuum that sucks all the attention into one single moment.
How does silence affect concentration?
It's like a mental clear out. It lets you actually hear your own thoughts without having to fight through a wall of noise. When it's quiet, your brain can stop scanning the environment for distractions and just dive deep into whatever you're working on. You basically get a higher bandwidth for the task at hand. Late night study sessions usually hit different for that reason.
Can too much silence feel uncomfortable?
Big time. It's that awkward silence where you start wondering if you said something wrong or if the other person is judging you. When the quiet lasts a second too long, it stops feeling like peace and starts feeling like a test. You know that feeling when you're in an elevator with a stranger and the silence just becomes loud?
Why do people whisper after saying shh?
Because they're trying to keep the volume low without actually going back to full silence. It's like a compromise. You've signaled that the noise needs to stop, but you still have something to say, so you whisper to show you're sticking to the new rule. If they just started talking normally again, the shh would be pointless.
What emotions can silence express?
A whole spectrum. It can be pure peace, like when you're with someone and you don't feel the need to fill the space. But it can also be cold, like when someone's giving you the silent treatment, or heavy, like when you're both just processing some bad news. It's basically an emotional mirror. It just reflects whatever's already in the room. I think silence is more about what's not being said or the feeling that's just there.
Is silence ever better than arguing?
Depends on the goal. If you're using silence to actually cool down so you don't say something you'll regret, it's a lifesaver. But if it's just a way to avoid the problem, it's basically just a slow motion argument. You just trade the shouting for a cold war.
How does silence help during meditation?
It turns down the volume on everything else. Like it lets you stop reacting to the world and start noticing what's actually happening inside your head. And instead of like chasing thoughts, you're just letting them float by. It's basically like hitting the reset button on your mental noise. You actually meditate, or do you just like the idea of the quiet?
Why are quiet places relaxing?
Because your brain finally gets to stop playing defense. In a loud world, you're constantly filtering out noise, which is a low key exhausting process. When it's quiet, that guard comes down and your nervous system can actually chill. It's like stepping out of a crowded party into a cool, empty room.
Do introverts enjoy silence more than extroverts?
Generally, yeah. Introverts usually use silence to recharge their batteries, while extroverts might find it draining or feel the need to fill it. But it's not a hard rule. Some extroverts love a quiet hike, and some introverts get anxious if it's too quiet for too long. You think you lean more one way?
How do public places encourage people to stay quiet?
Usually with a mix of subtle cues and some pretty blunt signs. Think like libraries with those quiet please signs, or museums where the vibe is just naturally hushed. Even the architecture helps. Big open spaces with high ceilings can make your voice echo, which makes you realize how loud you're being and forces you to bring it down. It's kind of a psychological nudge to keep the volume low,
Why do hospitals require silence?
mainly for the people in the beds. Healing is exhausting. The constant buzz of monitors and talking in the halls can be a nightmare when you're trying to recover. Plus, it helps the staff stay locked in. Doctors and nurses can't afford to miss a detail because someone's having a loud conversation nearby. It's about creating an environment where the body can actually focus on getting better.
Can silence improve mental health?
For sure. It's like a detox for your mind. Constant noise keeps us in the state of low level stress. So, stepping into the quiet lets your brain actually shift out of that fight or flight mode. It gives you the space to process things instead of just reacting to the next ping. You feel like you need more of it in your life?
Why do people become quiet during serious moment?
It's usually a defense mechanism. When things get too heavy or raw, some people use a little playfulness or shyness to create some distance. It's like an emotional shield, a way to keep from feeling completely exposed when the conversation hits a nerve. You're basically using humor or coyness to soften the blow. Been seeing that happen a lot lately.
How is silence shown in cartoons or animations?
They love to play with the contrast. In a lot of animations, silence isn't just a lack of sound, it's a character of its own. Think about those long, awkward pauses where a character's eye just twitches, or the absolute dead air after a joke fails. It makes the punchline land way harder because they built up that vacuum of sound. Plus, in old school stuff like Tom and Jerry, the silence creates the suspense right before the big crash. Ever notice how a character's facial expression does all the talking when the audio just cuts out?
What roles does silence play in a storytelling?
It's basically the engine that drives the pacing. If the story is just constant dialogue and action, it becomes a blur. Silence is where the audience actually digests what just happened. It's how a writer shows a character is conflicted or overwhelmed without having to spell it out in a monologue. It turns a plot point into a feeling.
Why
You think
do
stories are better when they let the moments breathe? Why do what? You cut off there. What'd you have in mind?
why do audience stay quiet during performance?
Wait, take oil. I'm thinking you might mean take a lull or maybe take a pause during performance. If that's what you're asking, it's usually to build that tension we were talking about. Let me know if I'm on the right track.
How does shh help babies sleep?
Assuming you mean silence again, it's kind of like a blank canvas for them. It helps them tune out the chaos of the world and just focus on the rhythmic sounds, like a heartbeat or breathing, which reminds them of being in the womb. Basically, it strips away the distractions so their brain can actually drift off. You think babies are just naturally calm, or is it all about the environment?
Is silence respected enough in modern society?
Honestly, not even close. We've turned noise into a status symbol. If you're not talking, posting, or playing something in the background, people assume you're bored or depressed. We've basically lost the art of just sitting with ourselves without needing a digital pacifier. It's like we're terrified of what we'll hear if the world actually goes quiet.
Why do some people fear silence?
Because it's when all the noise stops and you're stuck with your own thoughts. For a lot of people, silence is like a mirror. When the distractions are gone, all the stuff they've been pushing down, the regrets, the anxiety, the what am I doing with my life thoughts start screaming. It's easier to keep the music playing than to actually deal with what's happening in your head.
Can silence strength in
Can
relationships?
silence totally. When you can be completely quiet with someone and it doesn't feel awkward, that's usually when you know you actually got something real. But it's like a sign of total trust where you don't feel the need to perform or entertain the other person just to keep them around. It's that comfortable silence that says more than 1,000 conversations ever could. You feel like that's the peak of a relationship, or you think communication is always the key.
How does silence affect productivity?
It's a double edged sword. For some, it's the only way to actually get into a flow state where they can crush in a to do list without getting sidetracked. But for others, dead silence is too loud and they need some lo fi beats or a background hum just to keep their brain from wandering. It's basically about whether the quiet helps you lock in or makes you start overthinking. You a silent room worker or a coffee shop noise type?
Why do people enjoy peaceful environments?
Because it's a break from the noise of existing. It's like a mental exhale. When you're in a place that's actually peaceful, your brain stops scanning for threats or distractions, and you can finally just be. It's the difference between surviving the day and actually living it
Can silence be used as a form of communication?
every single day, practically a language of its own. A long pause before answering a question can tell you if someone's lying, if they're hesitant, or if they're just really thinking about what to say. And then you've got the silent treatment, which is basically a loud way of saying, I'm furious with you without uttering a single word. It's often the most direct communication there is because it removes the filter of words entirely.
What is the difference between silence and line lines?
Wait, line lines? I'm not sure I follow. You mean like a line of dialogue in a script or maybe like a physical line in a drawing? Help me out here.
Like a script?
As a clip, still a bit lost. You mean like a sound clip where the audio just cuts out, or maybe a movie clip where the silence is used for dramatic effect?
Yeah.
Give me a bit more context.
What final message would you give about the importance of silence?
I'd say just stop fighting the quiet. Um, we spend so much time treating silence like a gap that needs to be filled or something to be afraid of, but it's actually where we find ourselves. The best things in life, the real connections, the deep thoughts, the breakthroughs usually happen in the space between the noise. So every once in a while, just let the world go mute and see what happens.
Thank you everyone for joining our live session with Miles on Shh, the evolution of quiet command. Today we learned that silence is not just the absence of sound. It is a powerful way to showing respect, focus, peace, and understanding in a noisy world. Sometimes the quietest moment teach us the biggest lesson. Stay positive, keep learning, and remember that sometimes silence speaks louder than words. If you like this stream, please like, share, and subscribe. Allah Hafiz.